We will open the Levaya funeral for Fred Bodoff of Shalom, Ephraim Akiva ben Avram Simcha, with recitation of a chapter Tehillim by Rabbi Josh Collar.
Ashrei yosher lehalach b'atzas v'shvim v'uder chadim la'amad v'mashav l'zim l'yashav ki musras anechem sev sarsay hagei mam v'layla v'hayakid shasil al-pagi mayim asher yifriyo yitin bito v'leilo yibov chol asher yaseh yasliach lochin harishoyim ki mekamot asher tidfen ruach hakin leyakum rishon b'mishpad v'chadim b'das tzadikim ki yodei adnei derech tzadikim v'derech rishoyim tovir.
Our entire community is enveloped in great sadness over the sudden death of Fred Zichron Livracha, beloved husband, father and grandfather, such a good friend to all who knew him. There are many, many dimensions about which we can speak in his memory. We can speak of Fred as a brilliant legal scholar, as a loving and devoted, as mentioned, father, grandfather, husband of close to 47 years, as a London, a man who understood, an individual who understood the depth of Torah and Tanakh, as a superb Baal Kriya and Medaktek, who understood the text and the grammar so perfectly. I would like to focus my remarks, brief remarks, on what for me Fred represented: a shaliach tzibur. A shaliach tzibur, defined as someone who is the agent of the tzibur of Am Yisrael, but it's much more, much more. There is a fascinating statement in the Jerusalem Talmud and Talmud Yerushalmi. In the Talmud Yerushalmi it says something that we do not practice today, but was the original practice. And in the Talmud Yerushalmi it says that when the Gabbai, appointed by the tzibur, asks an individual to daven, to be the shliach tzibur, Rabbi Yochanan said the name of someone who was untitled, but apparently himself a shliach tzibur. Menachem Digalia was his name. He said as follows: Zeh shover l'fnei hateva ein omrim lo bo. You don't tell him come over. Although that is a statement of courtesy and respect, not enough. But what you tell him is karav, come close, approach. Asay tzorkenu, perform that which we need, entreat the Almighty for that which we need. Asay milchamosenu, and be the one to lead us when we wage battle with the Almighty. Payes ba'adenu, and help us in our behalf neutralize the Almighty's anger. The word is an amazing word, picks up from Chumash when Moshe addressed Aaron HaKohen. Karav, approach. And I believe that the Talmud Yerushalmi is telling us that you know an authentic shliach tzibur. You know him not only by the beauty of his melodies, by the nusach, which is so paramount. You know the Shliach Tzibur Krav by the way he approaches. From the moment he begins to approach the bima, the amud, there you see already walks a Shliach Tzibur. And the proof that he knew how to not only to entreat but to approach, because then during his approach, he's already thinking, he already has in mind, what are the needs of the people? What battle do I have to wage to move the Almighty from a position of judgment to a position of compassion? How am I going to neutralize that which seems to be his silence? He's already thinking as a Shliach Tzibur from the moment of Krav, of approaching. My recollections of Fred, and I believe many of you here this afternoon will remember as I do. My recollections were when Fred was a Baal Shacharis, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim, although he served as a Baal Musaf, served as a Baal Kol Nidre, and again, as I mentioned, as a Baal Kriya. But I recall the Shacharis and I recall the HaMelech. I recall that the way he stood up on my left, the way he stood up, and the way he walked. Do you recall the giant steps that he took? That's how someone mentioned it to me yesterday, the giant steps. And I would say, the steps of a giant. Yes, because of his height, but more important, because of his stature. We have many excellent Baalei Tefillah, Kulam Ahuvim, Kulam Berurim, but Fred was from the Kulam Giborim. And the way he approached saying that word HaMelech was an indication that he was communicating already with Malka Shalom, with the Almighty. And in taking those steps to the Bima, in taking those steps, he was approaching, invested with so much depth and so much thought about his davening. That was the royalty of a Baal Tefillah, reflective of the royalty of the Almighty himself. Fred's davening was authentic because he had the right nusach, and that was paramount. It was authentic because when he chanted a nigun, the nigun fit in perfectly with the words. It was never a yesh liyashev b'dochak. It was authentic because you heard in his voice the depth of feeling. It resonated and held everyone in the shul captive. Captive to the point where we all davened with him on his coattails. We all had risen to the Almighty, to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and we also were partners in the Tzorach, and in the Milchama, and in the Piyus, in the threefold dimension. And those tefillos and that davening will be so deeply missed this year and in the coming years. His death moved quickly. The Almighty took him away from us suddenly. I believe because the Almighty searches, we don't give the reason for one's passing. But I believe that the Almighty now has, in front of the Kisei HaKavod, a Shliach Tzibur with a Hey Hayediyah. And I can tell you that Fred will continue in another world to chant HaMelech and to be close to Malko Shalom and to have the family and friends and all of us, his beloved community in mind. On a personal note, Fred was a student in one of my classes for many years. Fred followed every detail. He understood in such great and profound way the text of Gemara. His comments were always brief, always insightful. He loved learning, he loved Torah, And in the course of expressing his Torah thoughts, you saw an individual who searched to always grow, to grow closer to the Almighty, and to give of his neshama to the study of Torah. It was quite an experience for everyone in the class, and he will be sorely missed. Fred was a devoted husband to Suzanne. It's not the time now to praise the living, the Talmud tells us, but we all know in our community, we know the love and devotion, the romance, the constant romance between Suzanne and Fred, the way they were devoted to each other for close to 47 years. That was an example for all of us in how you create a marriage and how you remain loyal to one spouse. And that chokhmah and wisdom, which has influenced so many in our community on the part of Suzanne, we hope and pray that she will have the strength and the courage to keep opening the Sefer HaZichronos and to keep telling us of the beautiful moments of Fred's life, Zichrono Livracha. The order of the eulogies will be as follows. We will begin with the children, Stewie, Naftali, and Tova. We're going to also have Avi, the grandson, speak, representing the grandchildren. Tova will then speak again, giving over the memories of the Israeli grandchildren and representing our membership, concluding words by Joel Klein, who will also give us the comments from Manny Kozlowski. Stewie.
I have not spoken from this pulpit since my bar mitzvah, almost 32 years ago. And yet it seems way too soon to do so for the purpose we are here today. It is fitting, however, that this Levaya is in this shul, as my dad loved West Hempstead and the young Israel tremendously. As much as we tried, it was always difficult to get him to leave West Hempstead for any reason. Once we were given little hope of recovery, ideas for Hempstead started floating around in my mind, but I couldn't organize them into any coherent narrative. Since he was niftar, I've been too distraught to do so, but I knew I needed to say something about him. Such a caring and loving husband, father, and grandfather. I know he was so devastated to miss Avi's graduation and to Mima and Elisa's bat mitzvah. Some of my earliest memories all seem to revolve around trains. As some of you know, I wanted to be an LIRR engineer when I was younger, although that may not seem like such a good idea these days. He humored my obsession with the railroad by taking me on train rides to nowhere, like a trip to the Roundhouse in Oyster Bay, or on the PATH trains to Hoboken. We also traveled by train to our yearly Met game at Shea Stadium, although I'm pretty sure that had more to do with his extreme aversion to traffic, a trait that I clearly inherited and still struggle to outgrow on a daily basis. He loved to tell stories, some serious, most lighthearted, and some even downright funny, about Eitz Chaim in Borough Park, Yeshiva of Flatbush, Camp Maple Lake, the Appellate Division, and a somewhat secret society known only as the Blackboard. He loved to talk about politics, current events, law, and especially with his grandkids, sports, which allowed him to reminisce about his beloved Brooklyn Dodgers. There are also great memories of learning with him. He was very proud of his Yeshiva of Flatbush education. First finishing whichever parsha we did not complete from the school year curriculum, later sitting on our awful purple velvet couch learning to lane for my bar mitzvah, and then learning to read the Megillos for Yontiv, so I could partake in this shul's wonderful tradition of encouraging its youth to read Shir HaShirim, Koheles, and Ros. To this day, I strive to reach his standards for laning and hope that I've imparted some of his knowledge to my own bar mitzvah students. He was instrumental in helping me find a job out of law school, and he would stand in the back of the appellate division courtroom behind a little wall during every one of my oral arguments in that court until he retired. I'm not sure if that calmed me down or heightened my undiagnosed anxiety, but I loved being able to rehash the argument with him before he returned to Judge Mangano's chambers. Finally, the one thing I will miss most, and many of you may relate to this, was his davening, especially on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. As kids growing up in West Hempstead, my friends and I were not necessarily huge fans of lengthy davening. And so on Yomim Noraim, we would discuss who was davening which tefillah, where, and whether that Baal tefillah was fast or slow. I think my dad was on the slower side, and I'm more than a little embarrassed to say now that I was a little embarrassed that he had such a label. As I got older, however, I began to realize how special his davening was, but it was not until my year in Israel, when tears welled up in my eyes during the introduction to Baruch Hu, that I fully understood. I haven't missed the Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur in West Hempstead since. His voice was not the strongest, the loudest, or even the sweetest, but there was just something special about it that is hard to describe. Of course, I'm biased, but hearing similar comments and compliments from so many people, both West Hempsteadites and visitors reminiscing about Nusach and Yigunim from Borough Park, makes me think I might be onto something. It is difficult to comprehend. I will not hear him daven exactly one Marav, two Shachrises, and a lane on Rosh Hashanah, or Kol Hidrei on Yom Kippur ever again. I've never researched where or how it started, but there is a custom in the courts to start a presentation with the phrase, "May it please the court." I would like to conclude this hesped with the following. May it please the court. May my father be a meilitz yosher, the supreme advocate on behalf of my mother, my family, and Am Yisrael.
My dad was humorous, but also the most serious and responsible person I knew. He was gentle, yet also had the intensity of a lion. He was a presence, a force. He influenced me directly and indirectly. Today I want to share with you a couple of stories and snapshots that I can remember. Of course, this will be haphazard and chaotic because today I find myself lost, perplexed, disoriented. But my dad used to say, sometimes as a punchline to a joke, quote, "Do the best you can." One memory I had was when I was a youngster, probably around 5 or so, I didn't want to go to sleep alone in the dark. I remember my father sitting with me near my bed until I could fall asleep. He was a lion, but he was a gentle, caring father as well. Another snapshot I recall was I was around 12 and it was time for me to start learning how to read the Torah for my bar mitzvah. My father and I sat down in our living room and we opened the Tikkun. But we didn't turn the page to my bar mitzvah parsha. Rather, our first few lessons we flipped all the way to the back of the Tikkun. That's where the notes and the symbols are. It was important to my dad that I learn the correct syntax, grammar, and pronunciation. Also, by learning these symbols, I could learn in the future any portion of the Torah. So my dad gave me the training to do that. Sitting with him in our living room, I could feel the full weight of responsibility that he was imparting and the full measure of his love. One snapshot from his professional career that I recall was when I visited him on his final day of work in his office before retiring. All of the various work files were being piled up and packed away. Still visible out on his desk were many, many photos of our family. It impressed me how much time and effort he had dedicated over the years to his job, supporting us as family. I benefited from that, and I appreciate that. Finally, I remember snapshots from when he would daven on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. On the morning of Rosh Hashanah, starting in a low voice and strengthening to a crescendo for Hamelach. On Yom Kippur, I would look up towards the bima to see him concentrating on reciting Kol Nidre. One time I decided to ask my father why it was so important to him to daven publicly for the congregation. I had anticipated several reasons, but he added an additional component. He noted that what he was trying to do was to emulate and replicate the style of davening, the nusach, that he had heard when he was a youngster growing up in Borough Park. And he had heard from the previous generation who had come from Europe. It was important to him that the style and the tunes of the davening were rooted in accordance with tradition. My father gave me that link to our traditions in previous generations. Dad, you taught me so much and helped me so much. I love you and I'll miss you.
Where should I begin? Where would I begin to start describing my father, who was a wonderful father and a wonderful man? My father had a clear moral compass. He was a man of integrity and honesty. While we all sat around my father in the hospital, the one word that kept coming up was that he was so yosher. He was brilliant, with a sharp and analytical mind. He taught us by example to work hard and do your best. He was probably one of the most organized people I know, always on top of everything. He was so reliable and trustworthy, a man of his word. We could always count on him. He called me Munchkin since I'm little, and it stuck, even through Sunday, which was the last time we spoke. His laugh was so contagious. If he started laughing, I couldn't help but join in, even if I didn't know what was going on. And you knew if he thought something was really funny, he'd be slapping his knee while he laughed. You were a beautiful Bal Tefillah and Bal Koreh, understanding the nusach, the dikduk, and the importance of every word you said. In my husband Daniel's words, you were an amazing father-in-law. You and Daniel had so much in common, from law to politics to sports to the appreciation of proper laning of the Torah. You had endless conversations. You were a second father to Daniel. And what a special grandfather you are, always playing and engaging with the kids, a real hands-on guy. I have a picture from this past Hanukkah when you came to visit us in Israel, of you lying on the rug playing with the kids. How do you do that, Dad? I can't even do that. My rug is so hard. But you were always down on the floor with the kids. We lived so far, but you made up for it by being so involved in the kids' lives. My youngest, Chana, coined the terms Grammy and Grampy. When I spoke to her from the hospital, she wanted to speak to you. Of course she did. You were a big teddy bear of a grandfather, and the kids adored you. You had a special bond with all of your grandchildren. The loss is devastating. Even though it was not easy that we lived so far away, my parents supported our decision to make Aliyah. Just recently, they reiterated how proud they are of us for doing so. My father was a Zionist, a true lover of Israel. His Hebrew was on such a high level, both textual-based and conversationally. Growing up, he would help me with all of my Limudei Kodesh homework, and over the last 5 years of us living in Israel, he would love to use his conversational Hebrew. He would boast that he learned this Hebrew from Yeshiva of Flatbush, his education from 60 years ago. My father would strike up a conversation with the taxi drivers. He would glide up to the Chayalim at the kotel just to engage and be part of Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. How he loved doing that. We are crushed by this sudden loss. Dad, we know that you will keep an eye on us from Shemayim, and we know that you will continue to be a Shalich Tzibur in Shemayim, davening for all of Klal Yisrael. We love you so much and miss you already.
When my mom asked if I wanted to speak, I was conflicted. On the one hand, I wanted to share how amazing my grandfather was. On the other hand, how can I possibly share everything about him in one speech? There's just too much to say. I'm just going to share a few things about my grandpa and how he impacted my life. When we were younger, Grandpa often took us outside to play basketball on that old hoop in his backyard, or have a baseball catch. He taught us how to play chess and how to lose because until a couple of years ago he had beaten us every time. We admired his incredible Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur davenings and always wanted to someday be able to daven from the Amud and lane like Grandpa did. It always made us really happy. He would buy us ice cream or pizza. We would always remember Grandpa playing Go Fish with Yal and Yoni and Scrabble with us. And every time we were in the car pulling out of his driveway to go home, we would make these funny faces through the windows, which would always crack us up. Grandpa, we love you and we miss you so much.
Our kids have such wonderful memories from their time with Grandpa. These are some of their thoughts and memories which Daniel helped put together. Tamima and Aliza fondly recall our pre-Aliyah Sunday visits to Grandma and Grandpa's house, eating pretzels with him, singing Zmiros together, doing Hebrew homework, talking with him in Hebrew, and listening to his stories, which made them laugh. They had such a great time playing basketball, soccer, and football together. Yossi would teach Grandpa the appropriate soccer celebratory hand gestures, which would make Grandpa laugh so hard that he would slap his knee. Yossi would also love to read books with Grandpa. Chana would play on the floor with Grandpa and have Uppy with him on the green chair. She would tell him how much she loved him and missed him on the phone and color pictures for him. All of the kids have such fond memories of lighting the menorah together, listening to Grandpa sing while we danced on Hanukkah, going on amazing trips like Eilat, the zoo, and the safari, and all the many special activities in West Hempstead, including Carvel and Hunkies, Fun Station, and watching TV in Grandpa's room while he laughed from his bed. They're going to miss their very special Hanukkah celebrations, singing and laughing together, and his huge smile. We love you, Grandpa.
Following is an email that I received this morning from Israel. We were saddened and shocked to wake up this morning to the news of the untimely passing of our friend Fred. The friendship of our families, parents, and children spans almost 4.5 decades, most of which has been since we moved to Israel. It is rare that one forms a friendship at a certain point in adulthood that stays strong for a good part of one's life. We met Ephraim Akiva over 40 years ago in West Hempstead, where our families were living. The Bodoffs coming here before the Kozlowskis, and after meeting a few times in people's homes for Kiddush, we began to share many, many moments together. It is a testament to the uniqueness of that friendship that it has sustained physical separation, energized by once or twice a year visits of one couple to the other. In Parshat Shlach and several previous Parshiot, we read that the complaints of the Jews to Moses and to Hashem, their complaints are deeply felt, such as we can't possibly move to Israel. The land is infested with giants and we are nothing but grasshoppers in their eyes. My friend Fred and I spent hours, no, days, talking about everything under the sun. And as happens when two buddies get together, it sometimes led to Fred's describing something in politics, education, or life that didn't sit right with him. Yet every complaint that comes to my mind was always accompanied with a deep and hearty laugh, as if life often involves challenges, and the way to deal with them is to put them in proper perspective and not give up as Israelites seem to be doing so often. Right from the beginning, Fred's traits were apparent and proved to be lasting and true. His honesty and clarity made him say what he believed, and he became for us a barometer of how a committed and proud Jew sees life in America and in Israel. His melodic and strong voice made davening on Yom Noraim very meaningful for our family, and we will always remember it. Fred was tall and had a deep, strong voice, and yet he was a caring and sensitive person. As our families went through life's experiences, Fred was someone you could talk to in order to keep your priorities straight and to focus on what was really important. The Mishnah Nava says, K'nei lecha chaver, since it is not self-evident that one will extend himself and go out of his way for a non-family member, a true and loyal friend makes efforts to do just that. Fred and his wonderful wife Suzanne have opened their home to our family on many occasions and made our time with them memorable and special. Fred was comfortable in both the Jewish and secular worlds and could converse on almost any topic. He added a sense of refinement and culture to any discussion, and it was always enjoyable to be in his company. It has been an honor and a privilege to have known Fred in many capacities, and especially for us as a true friend. We will miss you, Fred. To Suzanne, Stu, Tali, Tova, and your families, Amakim Menachem Eschem, Nesach Shari, Be'eli, Tzion, V'Yerushalayim, Lo Sosifu, Lidava, Od, Manny and Sandy and family. Also, this morning I received an email from our newly installed president, David Barretts. David indicated that he was out of town and requested that I speak on his behalf and on behalf of our shul administration. I assured him that it would be my honor to do so. Fred has been an important part of this shul since he and Suzanne moved into West Hempstead in the summer of 1973, the same time that Toby and I moved into the community. Fred has been a sane voice of reason in community affairs as a board member of the shul and its longtime parliamentarian. Fred has been a mainstay as a Shliach Tzibur and Balkore par excellence for all these years. Fred served as head of the character committee of the New York State Bar. It took someone of Fred's sterling character to be able to judge the character of incoming attorneys. But it is with great sadness that I stand here and pay tribute to my good friend, not as a stand-in for Manny and Sandy or as a former shul president representing the administration. Fred and I have had a wonderful relationship since shortly moving in together those 44 years ago. Toby and I have always enjoyed our time spent with Fred and his dear wife Suzanne. Fred and I always referred to ourselves by the nicknames bestowed upon us by Bernie Kesselman many years ago. There was rarely a time Fred and I were together that we did not discuss something political, share a joke. He was always laugh regardless of whether my joke was funny or not. Or most importantly, to discuss our beloved Los Angeles, Brooklyn Dodgers. The two of us stuck together with our team during the good and the bad times. When I was not sure how to analyze something in world affairs, it was Fred, to my turn, to get the proper understanding. And Fred was never unafraid to show his outrage when he felt that someone had committed a wrong or had expressed an opinion that he felt was not proper. Fred Bodoff was a man of great midos, ethics, and a strong but loving personality. I will miss him dearly, and I'm sure that Yom Noraim will never be the same for me without Fred's dulcet tones. I too remember very clearly all of those times when Fred began davening just over my right shoulder, sitting there. I've always appreciated Fred's davening. His beautiful nusach never failed to move me. Suzanne, Stu, Talia, and Tova, the community of West Hempstead and I mourn your loss with you. Suzanne, be assured that Toby and I will always be there for you should you need us for any reason. Rest in peace, Freddie boy. Yehi Zichron Baruch.
A concluding chapter of Tehillim will be recited by Paul Reinstein.
Shir HaMalos, Mama Kim Forsicha Adonai, Adonai Shemor B'Koli, Tiyeno Az Necha Kashubos V'Kol Takan Adonai, Im Avonos Tishmoya, Adonai Miyamod, Ki Im Chos Likor Laman Tibolei, Ki Visi Adonai Kitzor Nafshi, V'Litvo Lo Hokolti, Nafshi L'Adonai Mishomim L'Boker, Shomim L'Boker, Yacher Yisrael Adonai, Ki Im Adonai Al-Chesed, V'Harbei Im Ovadus, V'Hu Yifdes Yisrael B'Kol Avonosov.
The Avelim of the wife Susan, Suzanne, children, Stewie, Naphtali, and Tova, daughters-in-law and sons-in-law are not halachically Avelim. Nevertheless, daughter-in-law Michelle and the son-in-law Daniel mourn and grieve over the loss of their beloved father-in-law, as well as the grandchildren. Avi, Dani, Yael, Yoni and Tamima, Aliza, Yossi, and Chana. Shiva will be observed through Wednesday morning in West Hempstead at 692 Tanwood Drive. Shachar is 7:30 in the morning, Sunday 8 a.m. Mincha followed by Myra daily at 8:15. Family requests that Shiva visits should be made no later than 10 p.m. and preferably not between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Interment will take place at New Montefiore Cemetery in Farmingdale. Family requests the following individuals to serve as pallbearers to assemble immediately after the Kelmol Rachamim around the casket in the lobby, to accompany the Aron to the hearse at the gravesite to the grave. 8. Avi Fishoff, Donnie Bodoff, Jeffrey Bodoff, Rabbi David Abramchik, Elliot Feit, Bill Fishbein, Danny Bloom, and Mark Teitelbaum. The Kelmoli will be recited by Rabbi Benny Krohn, the Rav of the Young Israel of Teaneck. Would you please rise?
Mali Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamsenu Chanechona Akanfei Ashchina Malos Kedoshim Oteorim Kizarakia Masirim Es Nishmas Ephraim Akiva Ben Avram Simcha Shalach Lolamo Bavor shall be done in such Mistaka Baras Karas Nishmaso Bigan Eiden Teheven Uchaso Lachem Barachami Bastire Beseis Naknafav Yolamim Vitzor Betzor Chaim Es Nishmaso Adonai Nachlaso V'yanuach B'shalom HaMishkavo V'namar Amen.